Welcome to the Health and Happiness Show. As many of you know, I, Janet Hawkins, will be your host this evening. And here we are going into November, and the leaves are falling, and we're getting ready for Thanksgiving, and the holidays are approaching us very fast. Before I start for the program, I would like to take this opportunity to thank a couple people for sending me some inspiring motivation notices. The one that he can bring up on the screen is the one that says, hoping that you're comforted by memories, the caring of others, and the healing power of time. And on it, it opened up the card and it says, so sorry for your loss. And that was from a viewer. And I want to tell you, I appreciate that so much. That was so kind of you to send that to me. It stopped me in my tracks. And I appreciate the fact that you had taken the time for me to extend your thoughts. I appreciate it very much. And then just this last week, I received another card. And it says, you are brave for traveling through this. And then I opened the card up, and he will bring that up on the screen as well. And it says, it is so inspiring to see you overcoming, face forward, heart open, knowing that this will not last forever. Love to you. And from a very dear friend from the church. So this is very encouraging for inspiration and motivation to keep moving forward with our goals each day. So we always have to be positive and move forward. So I want to thank both of these people individually for taking the time to reach out. I really appreciated it very much. Okay, so here we are into November, and it's this time of year. We need to support our immune system. And so we need to prepare for it as well. So I feel as though we need to cover some of the information on that we have here available. The first one is that we're going to talk about is vitamin D3. D3, majority of the time, we get it from the sun. So here we are going into November, and where is the sun? It may peek out like it did today, and we enjoy that, right? And then it goes away, and then it's getting dark at 5 o'clock now. It was 6:30 last night. It's going to get darker and darker, earlier and earlier. So, and then many times it's winter time. We're spending time indoors as well. And what we are finding is that most of the people are very deficient in vitamin D3. And so the D3 that I particularly take and carry has 2,000 units in each capsule. Now, many of you are probably wondering, how do I know what my D level is? What you do is when you have your doctor do blood work, you ask him to check your D3 level. I have clients that come in and they're taking 50,000 units a day. So there is a scale. Anything below 30 is deficient. You're in the basement. And then that's when the doctor gives you a script for D3 of 50,000 units a week, once a week. So I personally take 5,000 units a day, but I choose to do that because my blood type is A, and my immune system may not be as strong as a person with type O. Their immune system is much stronger. So I am trying to keep the immune system strong. I'm in a lot of contact with people, and so I want to stay healthy as well. So we got to prepare and plan ahead. So let's go through some of the facts for the D3. So we talked about most of the population is very deficient, and it's fat soluble as well. So the last time I had my blood draw, I was at 95. So that's getting up there. But then whenever I was at a clinic where they do IV chelation and the infusions as well, the nurse practitioner had shared with me and that was from Paragon over in Worcester, Ohio, that if you keep your D3 level between 80 and 100, you will slide right through COVID. And yes, we have COVID going around again. Is it ever going to go away? Personally, I don't think so. But just be prepared is what we have to do. And so I backed off a little bit, so I'm only taking like 4,000 like every other day, then I go back up to 6 because I don't want to get up over 100, of course. So, and then I have it checked at least once a year as well. Now, some of the foods that are very good for you whenever you want to get D3, of course, there's salmon, and then there's sardines as well, and there's cod liver oil. And then, okay, and then you'll find it in such foods as like maybe some milk, some orange juice, and cereal as well. And beef liver is some sources that you can get it. And some mushrooms carry it as well. I know I had gotten some mushrooms and I had sauteed them, and they were very, very good to put on a salad as well. So, but usually our mushroom hunting season here in Ohio is during the springtime. So anyway, what are some of the benefits of the vitamin D3? Number one, it's going to go in and help your bones, especially if you're prone to osteoporosis. You tend to be on the thin side, so it's best to keep that D3 level up, okay? And then number two, it's really going to help your immune system. The immune system is vital right now. We're going into the cold months, the flu's going around, cold's going around, indoors all the time, so you need to be on guard and keep the system strong. Also, there's been some research done as well for heart health as well. And it feels as though it can help go in and prevent heart-related conditions such as maybe some high blood pressure and also hardening of the arteries as well. So it would be beneficial for you to take it for that reason as well. And like we said, it can lower your blood pressure, which is really a big issue today because I have a lot of clients that come in that have high blood pressure. I know it, there's a couple things that you can take that will help with the blood pressure to bring it down. Of course, is exercise. That will go in and help tone up the heart as well. And then also, it also helps to take maybe some hawthorn in a liquid form is what I prefer. And then also some CoQ10. Those two can really go in and help your heart tremendously, especially if you're on a statin drug. If you're on a statin for cholesterol, it pulls out the CoQ10, so you have to supplement for that. Just remember, the first rule of thumb, if you're on medication, you do not take your supplements with the medication 1 hour apart. That's the first thing you always have to remember when you're taking medication as well. And don't get me wrong, there are times we need medication. I'm the first one to agree with that. You know, I have people that have blood sugar issues. But what we have to understand, exercise will help lower that blood sugar as well. And then, and I'll try to bring that along next month, is I have a chart on your blood type, and it tells you the low glycemic and the high glycemic foods. So that is really vital to have that for you as well as a reference whenever you're trying to control your blood sugar. But then the D3 can also help with your blood sugar as well. And then the number one thing too is depression. Because right now everything, you know, is kind of dark and gloomy. So the D3 can really go in and help a lot with depression. I work with a lot of the old order Amish, and they tend to have a lot of depression. So we usually get them started on like 4,000 to 5,000 units of D3 for about a couple months, and things seem to improve tremendously. And then, so how many units do we take? So usually I would try for you to get your blood work done and see where you stand. But if you want to be on the safe side, you can start out at maybe 2,000 units. So look on your bottle and it'll tell you. Now, like in the one I have, there's 2,000 units in each one. So I take 2 or 3 a day. That's what I choose to do. But then I'm tracking where my levels stand as well. So that's very important that you do that as well. So we would do that. So another thing that we can keep on hand too which this morning I was running late because I had a call. Hey, Janet, I need 2 bottles of the olive leaf, like now. I'm like, okay, we got it. So the olive leaf is wonderful if you're starting to feel like you're coming down with the flu, the cold, or maybe COVID, something going on, bacteria, whatever. So the olive leaf is a liquid, which I love the liquids. They're much more powerful. And plus you just put them in a shot glass of water. And usually I take, like if I'm doing an event or I'm going to be in a group of people, I usually do it like 1 dosage before I leave for the day, just to kind of protect me as well. What does the olive leaf do? The olive leaf works on viral, bacteria, candida, and parasites. So you're covering all bases, which is very, very good. And whenever you're starting to come down with a cold or feel like it, I would do it at least 3 times a day. So all you do is take it, and there's a little dropper, and you count out the drops, or you can pull it up like 3 times, and that will give you approximately 60 to 80 drops 3 times a day. And yes, you can take it every hour if you're having really severe issues as well. And it's non-toxic, it's not going to hurt you. So we have that, and then we have the elderberry defense, which I really like that as well. That has echinacea in it, which is going to improve your white blood cells. And then it has royal jelly in it as well, which comes from the bees as well. And then it has some olive leaf in it. And then it has some elderberry in it. And it has some white willow bark, which is a form of aspirin. So, and these you would take probably 2 or 3 at least twice a day. And that's my go-to maybe, but my first go-to is the olive leaf because it's very aggressive and it's a liquid and it'll get right in there. So I just like to have these on hand, and I'm telling you it's important to be prepared to keep the immune system strong. We've got to be the CEO, and you cannot, of course, forget your diet. You know, we've got to stay away from the sweets because here we are, we're going into the sweet season. You know, we're going to have some pumpkin pie, which that's okay. Have some pie, have a piece of apple pie, and then we go into December with our cookies, and then we go into February for Valentine's Day. So, you know, you can be good most of the week and be off 1 day. We're all human. So if you enjoy a treat, it's best to go forward with that as well. So that's what we have. Basically, we're going to concentrate on keeping your immune system strong. Very important going into the winter months, and also from the transaction from the warmer weather going into the cooler weather. You know, a lot of people are having some allergies as well. And then I also like the seasonal allergies. And yes, you can use this during the winter time as well. Say if you're having difficulty breathing through your nose, this has horseradish in it, has fennel and mullein, which that's going to help your lungs, and it's all going to help you open up your passage so you can breathe. Like if you're getting a cold, you're having difficulty breathing through your nose, take 4 of these, you'll be able to breathe in 20 minutes. So it's always great to have this on hand as well. Those are always in my first aid kit as well, okay? So I'm just sharing some things so you can be responsible for what you need and when you need it. So here we are going into November, and we have Cindy here. Hi. Thank you for taking the time, Cindy. We always get together a couple times a year, right, in the springtime. Right. And so guess what? We're going to make sauerkraut today. So fun. I've never made it, so.
Never made it.
Nope.
Well, we always make it at our fall festival. So
right.
This past weekend we made sauerkraut, and it's a long process, but it's not really very hard.
Well, good, because I'll go step by step with you, okay?
All right.
Okay.
So I'm going to stand up here and demonstrate on how we're going to do it.
Okay.
Oops.
Would you like some chlorophyll in your water?
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Right. We always need our chlorophyll, too, during the winter months, because that's going to help balance your pH, because when you have all that sweet, we're going to get too acidic.
We're going to need a little bit of this too. All righty.
Okay.
So what we're going to do, I'm going to put the salt up here. The first thing and if you're making a lot of kraut, you're going to want a large cutter like this, or even a food processor. A food processor works very well because you can do a lot at one time. So that's going to really help you out. But a long time ago, we didn't have food processors, and we always use these. I actually have an antique one of these, but it works out very well when you're doing a whole crock full of sauerkraut.
Wow.
What we're going to do, we're going to layer the kraut with the salt, pound it down in. When you do a large crock, you're going to do layers just the same way, but a lot more of the layers than we will with our jars. So what we first need to do is we're going to cut our cabbage in two here. And then we're going to core it, because we really don't like our cores in our kraut.
Right.
Now some people will actually cut their cores out and they put them in the bottom of their crock.
Really?
And they leave it in there the longest because it's at the bottom.
Okay.
And the whole core here, all of this will ferment and you can eat it then. And it's actually quite tasty. It really is. But when you're doing small jars, like we're going to be doing today, and we're going to be using these wide mouth quart canning jars, we really don't have the room for the cores. So we're going to take our cores off today, just like this. And
can we put them in there then?
yeah, we'll put them in here.
Okay.
But what we would do, that would be the first thing that we put in our large crock, like I
Okay.
said, so it's going to be at the bottom.
Okay.
So then, what we're going to do, we're going to put our little slicer on here, and we're just going to shred our cabbage like this. And I'll show
thinking.
now how it's doing.
Okay.
And you can see this texture here. Since our jars are so little, we're going to cut our core in two
Okay.
so that we can pound it, because the most important thing is pounding your cabbage hard enough that you get the moisture out, because you have to have your cabbage all covered in liquid,
Right.
so that it doesn't mold or get bad on you. We want it to ferment. We don't want it to spoil. So we're
Now-
going to put our first layer of cabbage in here.
Now the thing is too, this is the season for cabbage, because I have some in the garden and it's not quite developed yet.
Right.
So it is cold through probably November, December, and keep an eye
well,
on it.
depending on this, how our temperatures are.
Right.
Definitely, you can harvest cabbage till Thanksgiving for sure.
That's what I
If you
thought.
started your cabbage early in the season, you probably had cabbage as early as August.
Right.
But a lot of people do start their cabbage, because it being a cold season
Right.
crop, you can start your cabbage as early as mid-April, and then your cabbage is ready at that August time frame.
Right.
So a lot of people do it in stages. They'll do a crop in April, and then they will every 2 weeks do a couple more heads, so that they continue to have fresh cabbage like until Christmas time.
Right.
And then if you have a way to cover your garden, you can do cabbage usually until the first of the year. Because now last year we had a really cold spell right before Christmas, but normally we don't have those sub-zero temperatures till the January
Right,
time
exactly,
frame.
yeah.
So you can it'll last that long just with a small covering over top.
And also, don't forget the farmer's market also carries the cabbage, because that's
Right.
where I picked up my head, because
Right.
mine are not developed enough at this
Right.
time.
So what we're going to do, we have this much cabbage here in our jar, and we're going to sprinkle a layer of salt over top. And this is
Yes.
canning pickling salt.
Nice.
You can use like a Himalayan salt, but I have had my best luck with a canning and pickling salt. And then what we're going to do, we are just going to pound. And you can pound. And when we're doing a large amount, we usually have one person cutting and one person pounding, because the
So would you like for
pounding-
me to pound?
I was going to say, if you want to pound,
I can
you
pound.
can pound, but we have to pound until we actually have liquid at the bottom of our jar.
We don't have it yet.
So it's not like it's a quick process. We did 2 crocks full,
This size, yes.
on Saturday.
Okay.
And we had 4 of our team members working on it. 2 were cutting and 2 took turns pounding.
Right.
And then when the one wasn't pounding, they were like cleaning up, because when you're doing that much,
Right,
you can
right,
make quite a
right,
mess.
right.
But we, it took 6 hours.
6 hours. So how many gallons are
This
in?
is a 3-gallon crock here.
3 gallon,
A
okay.
3-gallon crock, right?
You know, and I can remember growing up, my mother making sauerkraut. We had the original old crock.
Right.
And she would put the cabbage in there. I don't remember her shredding and doing that or stomping it, but then I remember the plate on top of the sauerkraut with the stone on top.
Right, yep, and that's what these stones right here are
Oh,
for.
okay.
On when you do a large crock,
Okay.
you fill it with your mix that were, your pounded cabbage,
Right.
and then you put this on top. This weights down your cabbage so it will stay underneath your water level.
Right.
And that's how your fermentation works the
So
best.
that's the key, is to get it to,
That's
the
the
liquid
key.
in it, yes.
To get the liquid, and then sometimes if your head is really, really dry, at the end, if you don't have enough to completely, the water that you're beating out of your cabbage,
Right.
if you don't have enough to get the moisture over top, you can make a little bit of a brine with your salt and some warm water, and then pour it over to give you that additional amount
Of moisture.
that
Right.
you're going to need.
So, and
So-
what would be the recipe for that? How much?
You need
like
about a quarter of a cup of salt
Okay.
to a quart of water.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So
that-
it's quite a bit. So you can go ahead and
Stomp.
pound, and I am going
It looks
to.
like it's dry, is that right?
It is dry.
And that's
this
because the
cabbage
season's been dry, right?
season's been dry. It has. But we're going to go ahead and do some more here, and then we can just keep adding to. Now, once we have our jars completely full, what we're going to do, you're going to keep your jar right on your counter or any cool spot. Since our jars are clear, you should probably keep them covered or put them in your cupboard so that it's dark.
Dark,
The,
right.
the
yeah.
fermentation is going to
Yeah.
work better if it's dark. So you want to do that.
So basically, just like when I do the canning, I take it down and I put it in my basement. I have the shelves for it, so I can do that with the sauerkraut
You
as
can
well.
keep it right.
And then check it about probably Christmas time.
You know what? Well, we usually check ours about once every 10 days because you want to make sure that, because this isn't a sealed jar, so you want
Okay.
to make sure that your moisture is not evaporating out and that your cabbage is always covered with the water.
It's going to take a lot of pounding.
It takes a lot of pounding.
Right.
It really, really
We
does.
should have started this
Now,
about an hour ago.
What, with your crock, you have this layer, I don't know if you can see it, well, you can sort of. So you have this reservoir here
Right.
for your moisture. You keep this full, and if this is always full, your reservoir is always full, you'll know that you always have moisture on your cabbage. And that will help lock out the extra air.
Okay.
And
okay.
because if you had enough moisture when you started, if you keep water in your reservoir, then you know that nothing has evaporated, so your cabbage will always remain covered. Now you can see that I'm cutting some of this cabbage right now. Because of the slicer being right here and the cabbage was falling apart, I didn't want to cut my fingers,
Right.
of course. So I just put the cabbage down, and this is working as a cutting board, and then you just slice it. So
So basically what you're saying is you don't really have to have the slicer, that you can manually cut it
You
as
could
well.
manually cut it,
Right,
definitely.
right.
Or, like I said, if you have a food processor, you can always just core them, take your quarters and drop them right down in your food processor on shred.
Right.
And do that. I have a friend that does not have a food processor. He has a Ninja.
Oh,
And he puts his on chop and does his that way. He also says that doing that, it seems to liquefy easier.
yes, it would be.
And he doesn't have to pound as long.
I was wondering, because I have a Vitamixer.
Yep.
I wonder if that would work.
Yeah, just put it on one of those chop modes.
Right, I should have
And
brought that along to
the
play with it.
smaller your pieces, also, the more quickly you get moisture.
Well, we are getting
So
some
we're
liquid.
oh yeah, we're getting liquid now. Yeah, that's why I say, that's why doing 2 crockfuls on Saturday.
Take forever.
Yeah, and it was great. I have to say, we had 4 young people from our team that had never done kraut before.
Okay.
And then we had 2. One young man that had done it a couple times with his grandparents, and then we had one of our regular ladies from the greenhouse, and she's made kraut hundreds of times. So she started off in the morning, and bless Linda's heart, she gave them all the lesson on how to do it, and then about 3 hours in, she was done. She was tired. So they had watched her long enough, and then they were ready to take it on, the other 4 of them
Right.
take it on by themselves. So it worked out very, very nicely. And it was sort of great because they all worked together working on a project.
Right.
They were able to, the younger people on our team was able to learn,
Pull this up, let's see if that'll help.
make it a little smaller. Yep. Learn from her.
There we go.
And she will be talking about the process of fermentation at our workshop that we're going to be doing
That's
in
right.
November.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Now, as far as stomping it, this was from my Vitamixer that I used.
Right.
And is it better to use wooden, if at all? Is there a difference?
well, wood is really good, but when you can't, this
can't.
stomper isn't going to fit down
Right,
in your
exactly,
jar,
yeah.
then you have to find something if you're doing small amounts.
Right.
Now, I have a stomper that is a 6x4 piece of hardwood with a handle like this. And it just fits in that hole, just fits in it. But you can really pound a lot.
That's, yeah.
And so it does help when you're making that much. It goes a lot more quickly. Also, like a jar like this that I brought along. This stomper will fit down in here.
Okay.
And so you can't. The only thing is you have to make sure that you have enough cabbage down in there that you're not breaking your jar when you're
Right.
stomping hard.
So usually whenever you start for the bottom layer, you have maybe a 2-inch layer, 2 to 3 inch?
About 2 inches is tops.
A tops?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you just keep adding a little bit more.
Layers as we go.
So people ask, why does sauerkraut cost so much? Well, this is
Here
why
we
sauerkraut
know.
costs so much. Because it's a long process. Now, sauerkraut that you buy in the grocery store
Okay.
is not done like this. So the fermentation process has to happen. But they have food processors that are the size of this table.
Okay.
So they can throw heads and heads and heads of cabbage in. It shoots out into a vat.
Right.
It automatically puts in the salt. They have a pressure system that pushes it down. So it does a lot of that work for you that we're doing by hand today. But
Okay.
if you go to a lot of local meat markets, they will have homemade sauerkraut.
Right, yes, yeah.
And they're doing it like this. So they have a lot of time in it. But I think that you will definitely taste the difference.
Oh, I could taste the difference because I bought yours last year. If I remember right,
Yes,
about
exactly.
6 pounds. And it was great. I had sauerkraut through at least April.
Right.
and it was amazing, the difference in the taste.
Isn't it though?
It was
is.
amazing.
It's absolutely amazing.
So
the
this
difference
is
in it.
why I'm so pleased we were able to
Right.
do this.
Oh yeah, this is
Now
much
should I add
smaller.
more now?
Yep.
Is that enough?
This is plenty of time. So we're going to add more cabbage, but also you add more salt.
Okay,
So
that's right.
remember when you're, like if you take your kraut and cook it once it's all finished, and you're cooking it with a pork roast, let's say.
Right, yeah, well, it's just always on New Year's Day.
Don't salt when you start cooking. Don't salt your roast.
No.
Because there's all the salt that you need
It's in
is
this,
already
yeah.
in this. Right.
Yeah, I never salted anyway.
You already have it in here, so you really don't need to salt anymore at all.
Well, see, I bought the cabbage at the farmer's market yesterday.
Uh-huh.
And I just may go back. You know, well, this would be a great project for my grandson.
Oh yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah, you know,
Yes.
it's great
Little
to teach your grandchildren how
Yeah,
to do,
absolutely.
lots of things. This is one of those things that is sort of a lost art. Not
It
a
is.
lot of people, do this anymore.
Probably the Amish do, I'm
yeah.
sure,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Oh, right. I know several Amish people that make. And I have a few friends. A lot of my friends are sort of like me that likes to do
Yes.
this kind of stuff. But they'll make 20 gallons.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. And then I have friends that are on the committee at the Algonquin Mill. And it's a festival
when
in
is
Carroll
that?
County. It was actually the second weekend of October.
Okay.
And they did 11,000 pounds of cabbage. That's what they started with.
That's a lot.
11,000 pounds of cabbage. They do theirs actually in plastic.
Oh,
They do it in food grade plastic trash cans.
okay. I
And that's how they do it. And that's who taught me.
Okay.
They came actually many years ago and did our fall festival with us and did sauerkraut. And they were just a lovely couple. And then brought some of their friends with them. And they did it for several years. But our fall festival always falls very closely to the mill festival.
Okay.
And they were pretty much sauerkrauted out,
Right, I
They were like,
understand.
oh, we've had enough here.
Now that seems to have gotten more
Yes,
liquid.
a lot more liquid.
Does that
Here.
is that normal?
That is exactly normal.
Okay,
That's
all right.
exactly what we want.
Okay.
We're going to add a little bit more in here, and you can keep on pounding.
And the nice thing is too, after this ferments, say till I'm
About
thinking
6 weeks, we're looking at sometime in
December.
December.
Yeah.
Yep. Later December. Mhm.
And then we're not letting the mason jar seal.
Seal. We're just going to set it on top.
Right, exactly.
Right.
The thing is though, so after that 6 to 8 weeks, if you decide you want some sauerkraut raw, you can go down and get it out
You
of
can
the
just
jar.
go out and get it out of the jar.
That's what I'm thinking.
Right. And then if you want to save it for a longer period of time, like a very long period of time, you can freeze it too.
Right.
So you just want to make sure if you're planning on freezing your kraut after it is kraut, no longer cabbage.
Right.
If you do it in a jar like this, a regular crock, then you'll take it out, put it in something, and then freeze it. I like freezing better than canning.
Okay.
My kraut because I don't want to cook it to death.
Right,
lose
exactly.
All of
Lose
my
all
nutrients.
all your vitamin
so
C.
I prefer to freeze. And freezing, you can actually keep it. Well, I've kept kraut in my refrigerator for 2 years.
Okay. Well, you know what I'm thinking as I'm working on this? I'm going into my daughter's classroom. She teaches 3rd grade.
Oh my goodness!
And
that would
I
be
think we're going to
amazing.
make sauerkraut.
Yes,
This kid, and the thing is,
kids will love this.
exactly. And the
Yes.
thing is, they can watch it. She can keep it in a dark area in one
Yes,
of her
and then they
little
can
cupboards,
watch
and
it
they can
ferment.
watch it.
Right. And
So I'm going to
it's-
mention that to her
It
today.
is very fun, and then they love to pound.
Oh, of course they
know,
will.
so
but I'm going to
it's
have to
like-
have 10 pounders.
Exactly.
I mean, the little pounders.
They'll all be your little pounders. They'll pound.
Well, the
away
thing
for you.
is, I will probably maybe take a picture or have her take this in so they can bring a pounder in as well.
Exactly. They
Because-
can all, if
yes.
they have a pounder in Mom's kitchen,
Right, they can bring it in
another
and
one
I can
right
provide
too.
the jars.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I think that's a better idea than applesauce because we made applesauce last year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
It'll be fun to do
yeah,
something new.
absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
Good idea.
Right.
Well, I'll be back at the farmer's market next Wednesday.
Exactly. Well, you know, and yours will be ready soon as well. So you know
Yeah,
what
see,
I'm
that's
gonna do
amazing.
so that we can.
I wonder if you get a
speed
close
this up
picture
a
of
little
this.
bit. I am
Let's
going to
see.
start one.
Let's see if you can
And
get a
this
picture. Okay. See if you can get a close-up. I don't know.
Well, I think you're ready for some
think
more.
I do
See,
believe.
it's amazing how, you know, the jar is practically full and then you stop and you go down to just a small amount. But we can do this so that this one,
Okay.
so I can start on this, and then we can put it in your mason jar.
Well, that's a good idea because I do have a container like that, like a tea jar. You know, I could take that into the classroom.
Right, exactly.
I'm just thinking, you know, how I could do that with 20 students,
Right.
but I can figure it out. I think this would be really good.
And, you know, some people doesn't want to make this mess at their house. you know,
Right.
because you can see we are making a mess here. But if you pick a nice day, I've done it outside before.
Well, yeah, on the picnic table
Yeah.
would be great.
And
yeah.
so you can do it outside and then the mess isn't near as bad.
The thing that's amazing is, because I usually buy my sauerkraut at the health food store,
Uh-huh.
compared to this, there's no comparison.
Right.
None. It's hard for me to explain the taste. How do I explain it?
I know, it is. It's just totally different.
Maybe a
isn't
little
it?
bit sweeter, maybe.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, the taste was a little stronger. But once you taste this, now you do have it for sale from your church that you've made, correct?
Right. So from our farmers market, we have kraut, and it will be ready for sale in December.
Okay, good. Save me 6 bags.
Okay. We usually we usually do from our 3 crocks about 90 bags. And like you, several people reserve some.
Right, exactly.
Right. And it's just amazing, though, the health benefits of sauerkraut.
Oh yeah, and the nice thing too is if you're wanting to lose weight, you can snack on your sauerkraut.
Surely can.
You know, and there's a lot of
And there's
nutrients
so
in
many
it.
things. It's so versatile. You know, we've
Yes.
only talked about a roast, but you know, sauerkraut is great on an organic hot dog if you're going to do that. It's wonderful to toss
add more.
in a salad. It's, you know, there's so many things that kraut is good on, and then even if
Put it on a hot dog,
yeah, on
something
a hot
like
dog,
that.
right?
Organic hot dog, of course.
Organic hot dog, of course, exactly.
All right, now we add salt every time we add a
Every
layer.
time we
of
add
cabbage.
a layer of cabbage.
And I noticed that
we're
you're just
going
kind of
to-
eyeballing it, so it doesn't matter.
You know,
It's okay, that's what
I am
cooks.
sort of an
I know.
eyeballer.
I am as well.
There on the internet, someone told me they do have an exact like if you put in, start with. Their recipes are usually for a crock, but you know, you put in a pound of cabbage, and then you put in a quarter of a cup of salt.
Okay.
But
I like this way
I am
better.
more of
Yeah.
an eyeballer.
Yeah, that's what
And then what I usually do at the end, when my jar is full, I'll give it a sort of a stir,
Right.
making sure that I have my moisture all there and I'm covered, and then I taste it. And if it tastes a little too salty, I will take a little bit out, put it in my next jar that I'm going to do,
Right.
and add a little bit of cabbage with no salt, and then stir it up. And or you can add if you're really struggling with getting enough moisture, you can always add just a little bit of water. If your kraut is tasting, or your smashed cabbage is tasting a bit too salty, then you'll just add plain water. If it doesn't taste salty, you can mix a little bit of a brine with salt and water and pour it over the top. So because that key is having your cabbage underneath the water.
Right,
I can't
exactly.
emphasize that enough.
Right.
How important that is so that your cabbage does not go bad. So I'm going to chop us up a little bit more here.
So my question is, whenever you say it has to be underwater, are you going to see like a layer of water?
Yep, you are going to definitely see a layer of water at all times.
Okay, but even we have to keep pounding it till we can see that layer of water on top? Or is that going to happen with time?
If your cabbage is a little bit, no, at the end, when you put your lid on, you definitely have to have it covered with water.
Okay.
If you don't, that's when you're going to add some water or some brine.
Okay, got it.
If it's real salty, you'll add just some water. If it's not very salty, you'll mix a little bit of a brine up and then pour that over. Because like I said, and sometimes on a really wet year, your cabbage will be very wet and you will get your moisture like so quickly. Other times, like this year, it being a little drier, the cabbage is a little drier, and you can see you're pounding a lot to get the moisture. Yeah. Now, Saturday at our fall festival when we were making, it was cabbage that had been grown in a lower field.
Okay.
So it was a little wetter.
Okay.
And it did not take that much work at all for us to get that moisture level up to the top. We added no water at all. There has been years that it has been so dry that I had to add water to every single crock I did. I normally don't do much cabbage like this. I am more of a crock style.
Well, yeah, I understand. But for the viewers today, most of them can do this and relate to the directions.
Exactly. And so many times, if you don't have someone else that you need to sell it to or that you're doing it together with a couple families, very seldom is one family going to eat this much kraut in 1 year. A full crock.
Well, you know what'll happen with my family. Hey, Mom.
Exactly. Hey,
Mom. I need some sauerkraut.
Right.
Like when the vegetable soup is made. Right. Whoever stops in gets a quart. So there you go. Okay. Yeah.
So, it's, and like I said, it took us many hours to do our, so it's not for the faint of heart,
Well, I think it's a family.
It really is.
Like the children.
What a time to bond together. And,
absolutely.
And have a project. I know a lot of families that do homesteading and homeschooling. They make this
project.
They make this a project for their homeschooling, and they take a day and they make kraut, and it's part of a science class.
Absolutely. That's why I'm going to do it for my daughter's class.
Yeah. So it's really, really. A great project to do for so many.
And the nice thing is, around the holiday time, they'll get or even when they go back to school in January, they can have a taste of it, of a snack. But I'm noticing the more I'm pounding now, it's getting more moisture and more moisture.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a good thing we had a good hour show today.
I know. Yeah.
We needed it.
It does. It really takes time,
it
is just a great project. And like I said, it is so much more tasty.
Oh, it is.
Than
it's amazing
that you buy at
the store. Amazing.
And even I usually only buy organic sauerkraut.
Right.
But even organic sauerkraut,
no, it's still not the same. No.
It just doesn't.
It's certainly better that in the jar in the grocery store.
Exactly.
But still, this is like night and day.
Yeah. It's definitely not one of those things that you can really compare.
Well, so what I'm probably going to do is I may play with my Vitamixer.
A lot of people do that.
Yes.
And I have several friends, that they have had food processors. A lot of people have a food processor. And they, use that, like I said, and it makes it go so much more quickly than all you really have is the pounding time.
Yeah, the pounding time.
Exactly, the pounding time.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go home and look, because I know my mother had a wooden pounder, but I couldn't find it.
Oh,
Yeah, you know,
Right.
and I had the wooden thing like this too, but I didn't.
Yeah.
It's being so old, I was afraid to.
Right, and I have an
use it.
antique one that we
Yes,
had out
yes.
when we made ours, just for people to see it.
Right.
But we don't use it anymore. You know, the blades are hard to sharpen, so it's dull now. It's been,
Right,
you know,
exactly.
exactly. But it's been, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, you know, I am a homesteader, and so love doing this kind of thing. And you know, like you had said, it's so much fun to be able to go down to the
Absolutely.
basement
Yeah.
and bring your own kraut out and have something. And like, I love giving these kind of things as gifts.
That's a good idea
You
for
know?
a Christmas gift
Yeah.
as well.
So do it,
Yes.
even if you do it in a crock. Get a jar full and give these kind of things away as
As a
Christmas
gift,
gifts.
absolutely.
You know,
And it's time to start thinking of the gifts
it
as
really
well.
is. And
Give the
you know,
gift of
there's
health.
nothing like
Yes,
yes,
absolutely.
There's nothing like good food. I always try to do that with
Okay, we need
nieces and
some more.
nephews. You know, yours is coming right.
Yeah, it's
along
coming right
here.
along. I can see it
We
now.
only have 1/4 more of our head there. Yeah, it's there. I think this is like an absolutely wonderful gift. You know, you can put that your lid on, then decorate that up nicely.
Absolutely.
And give them something that they're really going to be able to
And for
enjoy.
Christmas, it's perfect going into the new year for New Year's
Exactly,
Eve.
for
Yeah.
their New Year's
Yeah.
Eve. Yeah. It definitely is. Oh, I'm gonna do this over
I am
here.
so glad we did that. Just thinking of doing it with the classroom is going to be wonderful.
Oh, it's going to
Yeah.
be wonderful with a
And
classroom.
with my
They're going to
grandson.
enjoy it so much.
My grandson and I will practice it.
Yeah, you'll practice at home with your
Yeah,
grandson.
exactly.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember learning this from my grandma. She did this too.
See, I don't remember helping with this. I just remember my mother putting it in the crock, plate on top, and the rock on top. That's all I remember.
That was what was significant to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
Back in those days, yes.
Right. Like when I used to, I remember my grandmother butchering chickens.
Oh, yes. Oh, my. I do too.
All I remember that was significant to me was watching my grandma hang them on the clothesline.
Yes, me too.
She hung them on the clothesline, and that was very significant to me as a child.
But do
to
you
see
remember
her.
the boiling water? They would dip the
yes.
chicken into the water. I remember
the
that. And the
smell, too.
smell, exactly.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you know, I actually, just 2 weeks ago, I was processing turkeys with my friend, and we have, of course, a plucker, so we don't have to pluck them like we used to.
Okay.
But we still have, you know, that scalder, and that smell was just the same.
Oh, my.
Even though it gets it hot for you, you're not constantly have a fire underneath it. Okay, this should probably do yours.
Okay.
Here, let me
Oh,
sprinkle a
okay.
little salt in there.
Okay.
Yep.
That's about a teaspoon, a little bit more.
Yeah, a little bit more maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah, because the kids today have no idea
have no
what
clue.
we experienced growing
they
up.
have no clue.
I mean, even I hang my clothes on the clothesline. I had a customer come and had a little girl along. What are those clothes doing out there? I'm like, really?
Yeah.
You know,
Well, so many people, there's neighborhoods that doesn't allow you to do
well,
that.
exactly. They're controlling what you can do and what
Right.
you can't do. Yeah.
So, you really have to, expose children to some of these things if we want them to ever
Understand.
understand and learn,
Go back to basics.
where their food comes from.
Yeah, exactly.
They just don't know where their food comes from, which is a very, very sad thing.
So
And
basically,
very important.
one head would probably make 2 quarts.
2 quarts.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yep. One head will make 2 quarts nicely.
So I'm trying to think ahead to the classroom.
But yeah, how many you're going to need. And if each child got to make a quart jar, or
Right.
you could even do pint jars. You know, the wide mouth pint jars?
Yeah, yeah.
If they each just did that, that wouldn't take as much cabbage.
Right.
But
That's an
still
idea.
would be nice for them to be able to do. Yeah. So it is just, you know, people will say, you know, how do you take the time to do that? And definitely, like we've talked about today, it is very time consuming to do this.
Very.
But, you know, the rewards, just like anything, you know, what you put time into.
It's no different than you getting together with the family and making cookies for the holiday. And this is
very similar to that.
Exactly,
right.
but it's much healthier as well.
And definitely a skill that they will
always remember.
Right, always remember.
And carry it on for their children as well.
20-somethings that were helping on at the Fall Festival.
So
they were
more?
You're going to need to pound a little bit more because you're going to need some moisture in there.
Okay. You think we'll have to add some water to it?
We're probably going to have to add a little bit of water to it.
So now again, let's go through that recipe again for the viewers.
So what we're going to do, we're going to slice our cabbage. You can do it like this. You can use your Vitamix Ninja or your food processor to get your cabbage. And you can see how we have it here.
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
Sliced nice and thin. And then you're going to start with a layer of that in your jar and a teaspoon of salt.
Right.
And then you're going to pound until you start to get some liquid. And then you're going to do another handful of the cabbage and another teaspoon of salt. And you won't have to go quite a whole teaspoon. The thing is, it needs to be salty to ferment.
Right, exactly.
So
that's
the salt
the key.
is going to preserve it and help it with that fermentation. And then the pounding and the pounding and the pounding
and the pounding
and the pounding.
And it doesn't really have to be canning or pickling salt, but it's best if you do.
Right. You can, you know, we're doing actually some experiments right now with my team, trying different salts and seeing how everything, you know, how everything works out.
Right.
We've had our best luck with canning and pickling salt. When we're doing large amounts, we don't really want to vary too much from that. But it is a great project, wonderful. Yep. Just keep on pounding.
Okay.
We got to get some more moisture.
Okay, I can feel it. I can hear it.
Let's show this to the viewers here.
Right.
You can see where it's damp, but it's not covered in water.
Right.
We really want this covered in water. So we're going to keep on pounding until we have that layer, or like I said, right at the very end, if your jar is this full, you really don't want to add any more cabbage, and if you can't get liquid to cover that.
See that?
Yes, right. When you push down, you're starting.
You can see it.
Right.
Yeah.
If you can't get it to cover it, and you want it covered by at least a half an inch of water, if you can't get that much,
that's doing pretty
when
good.
You're going to do your brine. And just mix that in over top of it.
Rather than pound it, I'm kind of twisting it because it's going to splash all over.
Right, that's going to splash you. So you can actually just push and turn.
That's what I'm doing.
And then that will work that moisture in there.
Okay, let's see if we can get a picture of this.
Okay, which camera do they want to use?
I have no idea.
This one right here? How about that?
Okay, good.
There you go. That way everybody can see that. And you can see that moisture that's in there now.
Right, exactly.
And then we just want it to keep so that they can actually see this. And we're going to keep on. And if you want to taste it, Janet, you can taste it to see how it tastes. If it tastes very salty, then we're just going to, when we get ready, we'll just add some water to it. And if it's not salty, then we'll make a little bit of brine and add that to it.
It's salty.
It's salty. Okay.
I mean salty.
Okay.
Real salty.
So what we're going to do, we will just add just some water to it, and then our brine will keep it under the water, and we will be ready to go. So
it took about a good 45 minutes. To get this far for one container.
And now you finally have some good moisture going in there. The salt does help break it down as well and gets it so that the moisture level will come up to it. So it's going to be
you think we're okay
where
then?
you need it. Yep, I think
now,
you're good.
Should I add water when I get home?
Exactly.
With
When
some
you get
salt?
home, no salt.
No salt.
No, if it tastes salty, you're just going to add about a half an inch of water so that it's all covered. And then you'll just set your lid on it like this. Lightly, not down hard, but you want to make sure that this has water, like I said, at least a half an inch above where the kraut level is in here. You want to have water up to here, and then your lid will just sit on. And then that way you can see it where it is. Like this on a shelf in a dark, cool place, but not too cool. I have done it in a room that was only 60, and you know, in 6 weeks it wasn't ready because that was too cool. So yeah, so you know, most people's basements are at least 60 degrees. So
Well,
I
yeah,
usually
I
say
might
between
put it
6
in-
and 8 weeks
Yeah.
is where it's going to be, and you can always taste it at that 6-week mark and see how it is. And if it's not ready, wait another week and then taste it again.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, hope everyone learned a lot today. If you have questions, you can get a hold of Janet or me at Anthony Petiti Organic Greenhouse, and we will coach you on making your own sauerkraut.
So everyone, you can go to the farmer's market, get your cabbage, so you know it's good quality cabbage.
Right.
And organic we prefer, of course. And be well, be thankful. It's Thanksgiving. Be thankful for your many blessings. And be well and enjoy your family. Thank you. Thank you so much for being on.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.